Christmas, together with Easter, is one of the two great solemnities of our liturgical year. And each of these solemnities celebrates one of the two greatest mysteries of our faith. During Christmas, we celebrate the mystery of the Incarnation, and during Easter, we celebrate the mystery of our salvation. So today, as we acknowledge the importance and the relevance of this great day, we want to make our worship, we want to make our participation in this Mass proportional to the great mystery that we celebrate. We want our hearts to be raised accordingly to the great feast that today we celebrate. And in today's homily, I want to center our attention around one word. And the word is tenderness. Because I think that everything about Christmas speaks about tenderness. I think everything about Christmas speaks about the tenderness of God. And I think it also speaks about the tenderness that we should show towards the world. So think about this. Let us situate ourselves before the manger. Everything about the manger speaks about tenderness. What can be more tender than a newly born? What can be more tender than a new human being that is everything potential, that has so many opportunities in the world, but at the same time is completely helpless, absolutely dependent, and in need 100% of other human beings? What can be more tender than the love of a mother for a newborn? What can be more tender and loving and merciful than the attention that a mother pays to a newborn? And we can consider even more closely how tender is the attention of Mary, the first adorer of her Son Jesus Christ. This mystery also speaks about tenderness because it speaks about Joseph the father. And isn't it true too that a good father loves tenderly a newborn? I think it also speaks about tenderness, the fact that to venerate and to adore this son, this newborn, the angels show up and the pastors show up. So if you think about it, I believe that the most precise word to describe the beauty of Christmas is the word tenderness, because everything is tender about it. But if you think about it carefully, you will notice that God has chosen the pathway of tenderness for us. He has chosen to be tender. What do I mean by this? Being the creator of the universe, being the all-powerful, He decided to be tender in a newborn. Think about the Eucharist. The one who created everything that we can see made Himself vulnerable when He transforms the bread and the wine into His blood and to His body, making Himself vulnerable and helpless before us priests and before you, the faithful, who can easily treat Him without the reverence due. So everything about Christmas, but everything about God, speaks about tenderness. Now allow me to take one next step. The question becomes, what does this mean to us? What does this mean that God has chosen to be tender? Does this mean that God is weak? Does this mean that God has no power? And what we will see is that the way that God chooses to show His power is through mercy. So think about it. God could have chosen to show His power scaring us, threatening us, forcing us to love Him. But God chose the way of tenderness to really gain our hearts. A couple of days ago, we were watching a movie with a community, and the movie that we were watching is the movie Gladiator with Russell Crowe. And that movie was really good, not like the new one that they just released. And when we were watching this movie, Gladiator, something that struck us very hard was the cruelty of the world that didn't know yet the gospel of the tenderness of God. When you see the movie Gladiator, what do you see? What was the entertainment of the pagans? They went to the Colosseum, and they saw men kill each other, and they saw men eaten by beasts. And this was their entertainment. Today we go to the movies. Today we go to see the Vikings play. Today we turn on the TV to watch the Timberwolves lose 3 games in a row. But in those days, before the world had discovered the tenderness of God, before God had showed His tenderness to the world, mankind and culture was embedded in cruelty. That was their entertainment. That was their world. So we can see that one of the fruits of Christianity into the world is the fruit of tenderness. And when I think about tenderness, I also think about a different example. Mother Teresa of Calcutta. I was impressed to read, I don't know if you knew this piece of information, but she ministered in Calcutta with the poor among the poor. And you know how many pagans or Hinduists turned Catholic because of her testimony? According to the article that I read, 20,000 Hinduists became Catholic because of the witness of Mother Teresa of Calcutta, because she was able to show the tenderness of God to the world, because she had first been witness of the tenderness of God to us in the birth of the Nativity. So how do I think we can bring this to our own lives? I want to remind you that the most powerful strategy for each one of us is tenderness. Let me ask you this question. The first question is for parents. A good parent, a good educator, they must have authority over their kids. They must be firm with their kids. But what does a real educator look like? Does he educate through threat? Does he educate through force? Or does he educate through tenderness and firmness? Think about our best teachers. Think about our best teachers in high school or in college or in elementary. Isn't it true that the best teachers were those who were firm, but educated with tenderness, not with threat or with power or with fear? Think about priests in the confessional. And I'm sorry that I don't live up to this standard, but I remember that the priests that really helped me in the confessional were those who were firm but tender. Those who were able to show the tenderness of God and His patience to penitents. So today, that we see the scene of the Nativity, I think it's a beautiful chance for each one of us to be convinced again that what the world needs is tenderness. That we need tenderness for our own lives. And what other people need from us is also tenderness. So I want to finish with one beautiful story that I heard yesterday that really shows a little bit about tenderness. The story goes like this. The day of the Nativity, a lot of pastors, guided by the angels, went to the manger to offer their praise and worship to the Lord. But one pastor forgot to bring a gift. So when he got to the manger, he saw that many pastors were there lining up before Mary and Joseph, carrying all in their hands a gift to offer the newborn. And the pastor felt really bad because he had nothing to offer. He didn't think about a gift, and going back home wasn't an option because his home was too far away. So he started to feel desperate because his hands were empty. And while every other pastor had something beautiful and great to offer, he had nothing to offer. So when he was desperate and thinking about leaving, thinking that he was too embarrassed to come before the Lord with nothing to offer, Mary, our Blessed Mother, saw him. And she said, "Could you come close, please?" And she said, "Right now, Joseph and myself, we're going to take the gifts from each person. Could you hold the baby because I know that you have nothing with you? Could you hold the baby because you have your hands, let's say, available?" So what is my encouragement to each one of you? When we come before the manger, we all have our hands empty. Who can say, this 2024, I've done so many great things, my hands are full for the Lord? I can't say that. I see myself as a pastor with the empty hands. So today when we come to receive communion, and after when you've received communion, go back to your seat and tell the Lord, "Lord, my hands are empty. Maybe my neighbor has a great gift to offer you, but my hands are empty. But I'm here to hold the baby and adore him." So brothers and sisters, let us be moved, transformed by the tenderness of God, and let us reflect this tenderness to the world that so desperately needs the tenderness of God and our own tenderness to change their hearts.